Hey, Warrior Nation, it is Nile Harris with the Nile Speaks blog, and welcome. Today, I'm discussing how reinvention can power your personal economy. Now, before we get started with how reinvention can power your personal economy, I would love it if you would just take a moment to connect with me at I am Nile Harris on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Clubhouse, and Nile Harris on LinkedIn. And I would love it if you would drop some notes in the comments and share this and follow the hashtag Nile Speaks. And you can also catch me at Hot Tip Tuesday, and that's Tuesday with a W. And start digging into how reinvention can power your personal economy. Now, I am a coach, advisor, business advisor, speaker, and educator working with businesses, entrepreneurs, and professionals to transform your passion and purpose into profit. And one of the things that we found out in 2020, and I don't know when you're watching this, but I'm sure you know what happened in 2020. We found out that plan A doesn't always work. And there are some disruptors out there that we just don't know about. One of them being COVID, that impacted the economy and led to phenomenally high unemployment numbers and very little stimulus from the government to help close the gap. Now, when I talk about what is plan A, what do I mean by that? And what do I mean about a personal economy? Don't worry, I'm going to dig into that. But what we found is that a lot of people, after months and months of searching, started to turn to themselves. They have an expertise and started to decide that they were going to package that expertise and get paid for it, either by doing consulting or starting their own online courses or businesses, whatever it was. They started to reinvent themselves so that they could get themselves paid or power their personal economy. We already know that the gig economy is booming. We already know that more and more people are deciding to work for themselves, and professional services like lawyers or doctors or marketers, they're all moving into doing their own thing, whether it's consulting. And it's not just for the freelancers anymore, like doing graphic designs or things like that, and managing social media, but more and more people are branching out into this. And prior to the pandemic, we were trending to have something like 40 to 50% of the workforce in the US doing their own thing, either full-time or part-time. The pandemic may just have accelerated this wave of reinvention. Now, let's talk about plan A. What do I mean by plan A? Plan A is that thing that's been drilled into us since we were kids, right? Graduate from high school, go to college, get a good job, work that job, keep your head down, get another degree, keep going, work hard, and maybe you'll be rewarded for that hard work, but don't put your hand up, don't ask for more, and then retire. And then after you retire, just go on and sit there and wait to die. That's what I call plan A in a nutshell. But plan A was never meant to benefit us. It was meant to benefit from us. It was meant to benefit the creators of plan A. Who created plan A? High level explanation is during the industrial age, when we start to see more machinery being made, people or corporations needed people who could sit for long periods of time, follow instructions, and who could read, and who would not sort of rock the boat. So corporations started to put more money into K-12 education so that they could pump out people that fit the bill. And then as more skilled labor or more skilled professionals were required, they needed those same people to start going to college. So they started pumping them in saying, well, now that you graduate, you have to go to college. Before that, a lot of people learned through apprenticeships. Even being an attorney was learned through apprenticeship. And over time, Now you go to college, you're pre-law, now you go to law school. And you might get an apprenticeship while you're in law school. But this is kind of like, this was the plan A. And then, well, people needed to pay for college and the government needed money. So now we have student loans and student debt. So, what happens when you do all of this? You get into the workforce and you get laid off. It's happened to a lot of people in 2020. It's happened to me. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I checked all of my boxes. I graduated from high school. I went to a good college. I got decent grades. I did the internship. Where's my reward? And with this, because we are led to believe that plan A was meant for us. When you do plan A, you're going to retire to a small island. But when you look at other people, the wealthy, they do multiple things. They have multiple streams of income. They have multiple types of investments. They don't put all of their eggs in one basket. Yet, most of us are sort of taught that we should do that. And that's plan A. Now, let me pause to say that there is nothing wrong with that if that's the path that you follow, as long as it's the path that you choose. And if you think that you don't have a choice, I might encourage you to start looking at plan B and plan C or plan D, because plan A was created really to serve the companies and the corporations who are putting the money into that. And they needed a workforce, a certain type of workforce. And so they went into schools to develop it. It's not really that different from what we're seeing companies doing now with schools and partnering. They need people who can program and code, and they need people with more soft skills. And they're communicating those needs from K-12 and in college and in master's programs and even in PhD programs. It's still a partnership, and they want to make sure that people who are coming into the workforce will suit their needs. But what about our needs? And I think that that's where reinvention comes in. And that's why reinvention is having a moment, and multi potentialites like myself are also having a moment. So, what is reinvention exactly? It is giving up the notion that you have to be one thing. If you've been following me for a while, you know, you've heard me say this. We are not one thing. We don't have to be one thing. Life is not like college. You don't have to declare a major. You get to be in this world what you want to be, and you can have different careers. Maybe you were a firefighter and now you want to be a teacher. Maybe you were a teacher and now you want to be an airline pilot. There, you can have multiple interests in one lifetime. And the most frustrating thing for me, and I think for a lot of other people, is being told that we have to be in this box. We can only have a career in marketing and that's it. Or we can only have a career in finance and that's it. Or we can only be a teacher and that's it. But right now, what we are seeing in this age is that people need to have multiple skills and be agile and be successful. And those of folks who decided that, hey, I can reinvent myself, I can upskill, I can reskill. Those are the folks that right now are kind of the Swiss Army knives of the career world that no one knew we needed. And you can also do it for yourself. And let's talk about some myths about reinvention. It's kind of a buzzword. I've heard it a lot. And I remember the first time I heard the term reinvention is not really that I'm reinventing myself. I am who I am. The reinvention is how people see me. And people only see me as a finance person, or they only see me as a strategist or a marketer or this or that. The reinvention is really in the eyes of the beholder. You are who you are. You're just modifying your brand for the external world. Reinvention isn't just something that's for the well off or the wealthy. Anyone whose plan A isn't quite what they thought it would be can switch it up. You can change your brand anytime you want to and go to plan B or C. You can have a plan A and a plan B going concurrently. Maybe you still like working where you're working, but you've got a little side hustle and that's kind of your plan B, and maybe it'll become plan C. The next myth I want to bust is that you are starting over, that you're starting from square one if you're starting your own business. And that is simply not true. You have expertise in something. You learned a skill, you learned multiple skills. You are not starting at zero. You are starting with that point and you are just transitioning it into something else, and you're taking the knowledge that you learned. Your title that you had at wherever you had was borrowed, but the knowledge you gained while you were in that position is yours forever. And you get to package it and sell it any way you want. The next thing is that you are not starting over, you're starting differently. And this kind of goes along with the previous point. You're already an expert at something, but you're going to transform that expertise and deliver it in a way that only you can and only your unique value proposition. And when I talk about my unique value proposition as a coach and advisor, I say that my 24 years of experience plus my 8 years of formal education allows me to help you, coach you to your dream and through it. I can coach you to it and through it because I've done it. And if I haven't done exactly what you're doing, I've come close. I've launched product. I've done sales and marketing, strategy, finance, right? Because I study general management. And so that is my superpower and my gift. Last myth I want to bust here for you: ditching plan A is not failure. And I struggled with that for a long time. When I left my plan A and I checked all my boxes, I did what I was supposed to do, I excelled, and it still didn't work out, I felt like I failed. I didn't get this right. And I would look back over all the things I did to try to figure out, well, where was the gap? Where was my misstep? It just wasn't for me. Ditching plan A isn't failure, it's choosing. Now, how do you capitalize on your expertise and power your personal economy? First, you can package your superpower and attract your ideal client. Now, I have tons of resources at imnileharris.com to figure out what your superpower is. So you definitely stop and take a look at some of those previous posts where I walk you through solving for X, which is all about discovering your superpower. But you superpower is basically when you look at your skills and your talents and your results, your superpower is how you uniquely use your skills and talents to drive your results and your outcomes. It is the thing that seems so effortless for you. And people are always like, how did you do that? And you're like, I don't know. I just do it. That's a hint, an indication that that might be your superpower. And then you want to develop a brand around that. And brand is more than just your logo and your colors. It is how you want clients to feel. It is who is your ideal client. How do you want them to feel when they finish interacting and engaging with you? All of those things are your brand. And you want to get real succinct at your message because all of that will attract your ideal client to you. They'll start to see you on social media or they'll see you out in the world and they'll want to come to you and ask you, how can I work with you? Do you help people like me? And that's how you start to power your personal economy. Second, delight and thrill your clients to turn them into raving fans. So once you have that client on board, you want to delight them. You want to have a transparent process. You want them to understand what comes next and give them value. Another key point that I tell people when they come to me is, where should I price my products and services? And what I say to people is, what is the value? Focus on the value, not the dollar amount, because people pay for what they value. If they didn't, or if you don't think that's true, ask Starbucks, ask Mercedes, ask all of these big brands where their margin is huge because they are charging what people value for their products and services, and that is key. And you want people to be raving fans because not only do you want them to come back for repeat business, you want them to tell all of their friends, right? So that's going to help drive your personal economy. Third, Manage your business like a boss. B period, O period, S period, S period. And it stands for business basics, outcomes, systems, and strategy. And once you manage your business like a boss, it'll allow you to work on your business instead of in your business. And it will also run very smoothly. You want to have foundation. One of the mistakes that I see people who are just starting on this journey and getting into that reinvention and going out on their own, one of the biggest mistakes is that they skip sort of systems and strategy because they're focused on, I got to make money, which is fair. But then what happens is you get a client or you start getting business or you start getting questions and inquiries, and you don't have the systems to handle it. So take the time, spend, a week just sort of thinking through what is that organizational structure, having a wonderful onboarding process, having a template that you use to send to prospects about your products and services. And then what is the pitch? What does that look like? And then what does the proposal look like? What does that template look like? And then you want to automate it. I have several tools that I use. You go to my website at iamnileharris.com and you apply for my Warrior Unleashed coaching, either executive leadership coaching or life coaching. There's a system, there's a flow. You apply for it. As a message comes to me, then information about my coaching goes out to you, and then we get on the phone and we talk about it, and then I send you a lovely proposal that reflects what our discussion was. So that at a high level is how you can capitalize on your expertise and reinvent and power your personal economy. That's it. That is the whole Nile Speaks blog today, how reinvention can power your personal economy. If you want to learn more, please go at iamnileharris.com, grab some of the free resources, check in the comments below for some of those as well, and take time to connect with me. I love to connect with people. I answer questions all the time. As I said, I'm a business advisor, and take a moment to go visit me at I am Nile Harris on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Nile Harris on LinkedIn. Catch me on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. And take a look at all of the resources that I have out there for different aspects of running your business. Or, I'm also Warrior Unleashed. Coaching is all about mindset and changing the mindset and having a growth mindset. Be sure you are following me, and I would love it if you would comment below if this was helpful and share in your communities, and come back and visit me real soon at Nile Speaks blog.